Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Today's video, we are on a small dairy in western Wisconsin and they've just let their cows out to pasture and we're going to be working on this girl. She's got an ulcer in this right rear foot. You see we got some separation here. There's an underlying lesion under this. We're going to have to remove all of this loose stuff and unveil that baby. Let's get started. I've had some weird issues going on with my GoPro the last couple days, so this is going to be a little bit like one of the silent films from the 1920s during parts of this. The audio cuts out and then it'll come back, so I've got it off completely right now just so it's not completely distracting when it does that. But as you can see here, we're working on this ulcer. I'm going to remove some of these big chunks of loose stuff right off the bat, and then I'm going to trim it down and we'll get to more precise work of that ulcer as I unveil it. If the makeup of this hoof looks a little strange, it's because these cows were in most of the winter and they've just been let out recently within the last month or so. So this foot is in the beginning stages of natural shedding. That horn that was all dried out all winter and really hard is beginning to soften up and starting to loosen up and shed away. You can see the medial claw, that inside claw there, a lot of that has already sloughed off. This lateral claw, because it had a problem in it, some of that horn was hydrated, it's not shedding as easily. So that's why it looks so much more overgrown than that medial claw, is because of that. But once I start working here, you'll see there's still a lot of hardness, especially in that outside wall. And you can see toward the toe, that's still pretty dry horn there. So it's a lot harder to cut through. Here you can get a look at that ulcer as I'm starting to work my way around it here. Still a lot more to take away from this, but you can start to see what it looks like as I get going here. I go back and forth between my knife and my grinder just because this horn is so hard to cut through. You get areas of it that cut really nicely, and then you got other areas that are really hard, and it's kind of hard to make nice, clean, precise cuts when you've got horn like that, because you never know exactly how your knife's going to draw through it, and you don't want to go too fast or and end up causing damage. So that's why you see me do that. If I get into some hard stuff, I'll take that off with the grinder once I get around the lesion itself more. Than I use that knife and do a more precise job with that. It's kind of strange watching a video without any background noise or anything, isn't it? I don't really like it, I must admit, but I'm not sure what was happening, if it was because it was windy that day, if the noise interference on the camera was causing it to cut out like that. I'm not really sure, but I'll have to try to figure that out. But what I'm trying to do here is, I'm going to show you in a minute, this horn is actually growing up and almost constricting this ulcer off, which is the way that these feet kind of heal themselves. They kind of, it closes in from the outsides around it toward the center, and almost, it almost cuts the circulation off to this protrusion. And back in the early days of my trimming, a lot of these that were like this, where I could see they were getting tight, I would just cut that directly off, because they're almost dead at this point already. You can see as I work and clean some of this away from here, this lesion is not very, it looks big from the outside, but it's constricted at the base. So a lot of times you can cut that off and it would heal over. But what I found is when they're like that, if we just clean this area up and wrap with salicylic acid, it does the same thing. Here you can see that hoof as it's growing is working up. That's not loose horn. That's actually hoof that's moving in and kind of filling in that where that ulceration is pushing through. I've still got some more to take off around that outside wall there that I'm gonna get now, but you can see I've worked around that lesion to try to get to keep anything from pinching that lesion and irritating it anymore from anything that's loose. So we'll get this cleaned up. We're gonna wrap it with salicylic acid. Like I said, that's gonna help kind of shed away what this dead tissue that's left here. You can see I'm kind of removing some of that with my knife. A lot of this is already sloughing off on its own. So a little bit of salicylic acid, that's going to finish this off and really make this remaining tissue slough away and have this foot heal up nicely. To get this medial claw cleaned up so my adhesive sticks for my block, put a block on there, and we'll get moving on this foot. Now I get a lot of questions, why don't you use a torch to heat up that block and dry off the foot? And the reason I don't, or the reason a lot of other trimmers do that, is because the blocks they use have a releasing agent from when they're injection molded to allow those blocks to come out of the molds. But these blocks don't have that, so I don't have to worry about that oily residue on these blocks. They adhere really well just the way they are. So get this foot wrapped with salicylic acid, and we're gonna let her go and you can see how she walks. As always, guys, thanks for watching. We will see you all on the next one.